Hello, viewers. So we are back once again with Warfaze. No surprises here. No surprises. But this time around, we are listening to a classic, and this time it has been a rendition on Coke Studio Bangla. So we are genuinely intrigued. I haven't listened to this track entirely, just played the initial part, but did not listen to the entire track. We want to just listen to with all of you together. So I can't wait. Let's just
Yeah,
begin
yeah.
and then we talk about it.
It came out today, right? I couldn't
Yeah.
hear it as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, I couldn't wait. Let's do it.
Let's start then.
3, 2, 1, play.
Coke Studio Bangla, Season 3.
All right, Cox's Bazaar. Cox's Bazaar,
Mhm.
in it.
Mm-hmm.
The whole story. Santur.
Okay, Janatul Firdaus is on Tanpura.
There's a new vocalist.
Palash Noor.
Yeah. And that's Bhavna.
সব আলো নিভে যা আধারে শুধু জেগে থাকই দূরে তারারা সব শব্দ থেমে যাক নিস্তব্ধতায় শুধু জেগে থাকেই সাগর আমার পাশে আহা আহা
Sitar is one of my most favorite instruments.
সব বেদনা মুছে যাক স্থিরতায় হৃদয় ভরে যাক অস্তিত্বে
He's singing with a lot of nostalgia.
হৃদয় গহীনে অবাক দৃষ্টিতে
Probably reliving
থমকে
all of them.
দাঁড়িয়েছে মহাকাল এখানে আহা আহা শুভ্র বালির সৈকতে
Goosebumps.
এলোমেলো বাতাসে গিটার হাতে নিস্তব্ধতা চৌচি উন্মাদ ঝুমকারে কাঁদি অবাক সুখের কান্না যেন চুনিরা পান্না সাগরের বুকে আলপনায় কে দিয়ে যায় অবাক ভালোবাসায় অবাক
His voice is so fresh. It's just so fresh.
Timeless melody. The string section and the choir is adding a lot of magic to this track.
A lot of weight. So this one has real flutes.
And getting ready for the integration of flute here.
His voice is very nice as well.
স্তব্ধতায় শুধু জেগে থাক এই সাগর আমার পাশে আহা সব কষ্টে বয়ে যাক সুখের ঝড় হৃদয়ে ভরে যাক সহজ নীল স্বপনে হৃদয় গহীনে অবাক দৃষ্টিতে থমকে দাঁড়িয়েছে মহাকাল এখানে আহা আহা
So this harmony is a little bit
শুভ্র বালির সৈকতে এলোমেলো বাতাসে গিটার হাতে নিস্তব্ধতা চৌচির উন্মাদ ঝংকারে কাঁদি অবাক সুখের কান্না যেন চুনি হীরা পান্না সাগরের বুকে আলপনা এঁকে দিয়ে যায় অবাক ভালোবাসায় অবাক ভালোবাসায়
this cello is also adding a lot of
To talk about. Just listen to cello in the background, man.
yeah. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you expect a lot of polarization
In terms of arrangement, you mean?
in
Or-
terms of whenever you recreate a classic,
Hmm.
there's a huge polarization. You cannot recreate the original. Original is the best,
Of course. Of
right?
course.
And
of
there's
course.
this segment where the newer generation who haven't heard or haven't grew up with that classic would come to appreciate this.
Absolutely, no. There is, and I think the arrangement for me was done pretty smartly, and I'll come to that. Why I feel that it was done really smartly. Just one thing that I want to add over here, though, before we begin the actual review, I just once again like to thank Rafi Bhai. We both really appreciate your kind gesture. We are donning this shirt once again for Warfaze merchandise. So thank you. We cannot thank you enough for your kindness. And I think whenever Coke Studio Bangla drops a track, I think he never misses a second and sends a message instantly to both of us that they have dropped a track. So thank you so much once again, Rafi Bhai. All right. Coming back to the track, you talked about the polarization. I mean, in the era of 90s, the band Warfaze itself, they crafted a song that would become a timeless treasure for many, right? So this song Obak Bhalobasha, with its lyrics, lyrics had really
Yes.
important were an important part of this particular track rather than arrangement. People resonate to the lyrics of this track more, as far as I could understand.
And the composition and
the
everything that-
composition, yeah, everything. I think it's beautiful melody. It became an anthem for the youth of that time. Yeah,
It's still it's revered.
revered,
This track
absolutely
is
revered.
one of those tracks which is
Absolutely.
it's not only timeless, but it is revered by not only that generation but
Yeah.
the generation after as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it is a cult classic. There's no denying in that. And just if you fast forward and just come to the present era, they are now, the band itself is now 40 years old. As far as I think when we previously reviewed this original, I think
Mhm.
we mentioned it there. as well. They are now 40 years old, so it's a long, long journey that they have come across, and the band is still intact, although the lineup has changed. But when Coke Studio Bangla actually announced, I was reading somewhere, maybe on Instagram, before the actual um, season began, that they are going to recreate this Obak Bhalobasha in third season. It definitely sent a lot of excitement, a wave of excitement to
Yeah.
the Bangla fans, of course, but some were skeptical because you are recreating a timeless
Yeah.
piece once
Yeah.
again. So what would happen in that case? But what I feel in terms of arrangement, um, it was pretty smart in a sense that if you see it's a 7 minute long track, the initial part is being done by Babna Karim, and the later part is sung by
Yeah.
Palash Noor. And what I felt, I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but when the track began, it had a lot of traditional instrument at play at the forefront, like santur you mentioned, like sitar, um, and also tanpura, for instance. So more traditional instruments were infused along with the original melody while Babna Karim was singing. Of course, the string section, the guitars were there, but they were kept at a very low pace, very
Yeah.
subtle in the background. But when the transition actually happened, they started the same melody that was played on the flute by Jalal Bhai. Now they shifted to the electronic guitar and handed it over to Palash Noor. So I felt that it is basically recreating the feel of nostalgia, but also passing the baton to the newer generation
Exactly.
and
Absolutely.
recreating in their way.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I just, in terms of arrangement, I felt it was a very smart decision, very beautiful, wonderful decision in a sense, because both generations, I think the newer generation, their father, their brother, they would have talked about
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
track,
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
played in their cars and so on. But now the newer generation would also resonate to this track in a sense with a different identity, I would say, a slightly different identity or a different flavor, I would say. So it was a brilliant decision.
Yeah, yeah, I had the same feeling there about the transition where the baton was passed to the newer generation,
Mhm.
and I actually think that Palash Noor did justice, absolute justice to
Absolutely,
the
absolutely.
to the real feel of it. So we were talking. I mean, Obak Bhalobasha is about sitting on the Cox's Bazar beach, and thinking about life, how to
Mhm.
live the life to the fullest, right?
Mhm.
And it's a conversation to oneself, not to others.
Yep.
That shut the darkness,
Mhm.
embrace the light, and all that. To paraphrase. And in the original track, not the remastered word, in the original track, we felt that Babna Karim was actually singing with a cadence, which was something like a conversation with oneself,
Oneself, yeah.
right? And that cadence was something that amazed us, both of us, right?
Mm.
And here Palash Noor, I think, did a better job of
Brilliant.
matching that cadence.
Brilliant.
I totally, I feel that Babna Karim was more nostalgic about this track. In his singing, he must have sung this million times since the original release.
Yeah.
In million different settings. This, there are tracks which are as timeless classic as these. Sayuni, for example, or there are multiple such tracks. But the people who grew up or who love this track, who revere this track, they are familiar with each and single note
Every single
of
thing.
of this track, right? Of this of the piece of music. They have heard it so many times that each note on every beat is it's like stamped on our mind.
Absolutely.
As soon as something steers away from that note,
Hmm. I know.
it feels jarring. It feels jarring. Then okay, what did they do here? What happened here? Yeah, and I'm expecting something. I have expectation because I've heard this so many times, and then something else happens, and then and then you're forced to think that okay, what would, anyways. This is what I felt. So Obak Bhalobasha is something that we have heard so many times, both of us, and there were places where because I was listening to this for the first time, I was thinking there was this, especially at the end of the fifth note mark, there was this harmony, which was going at a different pitch, and
Mhm.
I was like, okay, this is new, this is different
Mhm.
from my expectations,
Mhm.
right? And again, as you mentioned, that as soon as it was announced that they are going to do this, one thing I want to mention before we go on, Coke Studio Bangla has been giving tributes so far in the season. You know, Maluma was a tribute to viewers, and the
Tati.
Tati
Mm.
was also a tribute. This is another tribute to
It is.
another, so this season so far, the pattern is that they are giving tribute to the working class who have built the nation.
Mhm. Mhm.
Warfaze has contributed in equal terms
Equal terms.
of
Absolutely
building
equal
this
terms.
nation in terms of music.
Absolutely.
So masons contribute, fishermen's and boatmen's contribute, weavers contribute
Weavers
to the
contribute.
economy,
Mm.
to the society, to the building of nation. And Warface and other bands of that era have
Absolutely.
contributed towards that building of the nation. So it
100%.
fits the pattern, and I love it that Coke Studio Bangla is doing it. Right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, okay. Now when they did announce it, the first thought that would come to my mind is that, or did come to my mind, is that, okay, what would they do with it? It's so good.
Mhm.
It's so it's so good that what could you do with
Mm.
it?
Mhm.
It's just like Sayuni, right? So
Yeah.
Sayuni,
Well, recreated. Yeah.
Coke Studio recreated it, and the first impression was, man, what did you do with it? What did you do with my loved one, right? With this track, actually, I didn't feel that way.
No. No.
What
Not
did you
at
do
all.
with my
Beloved
beloved
track.
song?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't feel that, but there were spaces and places where I thought, for example, the guitar solo,
Mm.
where in the original track it was done by keys.
Mm.
It sounded like a flute, right? And the
Mm.
keys were configured as such.
Mm.
And then in this track, real flute replaced that mimic
That's what I was going
of
to mention.
flute,
Yep. Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Right. So you do that, but it did justice to it. It did. It did.
100%.
Right.
100%.
For me, the very very original track remains very close, especially because of the conversation
Mm.
that is happening. The conversation is also happening in here, but I
100%.
felt again, I have heard it only one time, but I felt that there's too much happening,
Mhm.
and it was distracting me. There was cello, and I was listening to cello. Okay, how was it this integrated, and what is it contributing in terms of value? And then there was santoor and sitar and the string section, and I was wondering that why did they introduce string section at this point? The choir was trying to add a lot of weight on some phrases but not others, and again it's a I think function of the one time listening, and I think we would have to listen to it multiple times to unpack it.
Mm.
Overall, I think the essence has been preserved.
Absolutely, the essence has been preserved as well. I for once didn't feel that anything was over, and I know there are a lot of elements that have been added, but I still felt that both the vocalist, had the full center stage, and as you mentioned, Palash Noor did brilliant job over here because his cadence completely matched the original
yes.
one as well, and he also added certain elements on
Yeah.
his own, like falsetto and everything, but it actually matched with the message and it kept
Yeah.
that particular essence. I, for once, I personally loved the use of cello throughout this particular track, along with the bass. The way cello and bass were used, it was adding a lot of depth, a lot of gravity. It felt like the emotions that were translated through those instruments were actually for the reflection, for the self-reflection. So it was adding all those gravity that you actually feel
Yeah.
sometimes when you are just talking to yourself, just having certain thoughts. So I particularly love this particular bit, and the use of flute. You rightly pointed out, in the original track when we were listening, we mistakenly thought that it was done on flute, but how wonderful that Coke Studio Bangla team actually felt that that particular key part or the of the main melody had to be done by the through the flute first. And I love the use of flute, to be honest, in this particular track as well. um, I think the only bit, the transition that happens with the keys that you mentioned in the harmony, it also made me think, but it's just not, I would say, a complaint, but it's just, it felt that a fluid song that is going through just had a slight pause for me, but it's just probably the first listening experience in which we have felt
So
it.
it's, it's a function of subconscious.
Yeah.
You drive a car with
Yeah.
some conscious
Yeah,
mind,
yeah.
right? You don't
Yeah.
think about you're gonna change a gear. You
You just
don't
do.
think about I'm gonna press brakes. You just do.
Yeah.
It's a
Mm.
function of, because the function, the exercise is a muscle memory by now, right? And
Yeah.
it's similarly riding a bicycle and all that.
Mm.
Some tracks become that.
Become,
Some
of course.
tracks, and you blindly know, subconsciously know that this is the beat that I'm seriously waiting for, because it incites
Mhm.
some, some electricity
Mhm.
within me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when it doesn't happen and something else happens,
Mhm.
then you are jarred
Yeah.
by it, right? Right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
again, it's like driving. You expect car to do something, and it doesn't.
Absolutely.
You would be so. I mean, this was a feeling that I felt during this
Mhm.
track, but again, function of listening to it for the first time. It was beautiful. Coke Studio did add their magic, the usual one.
Mhm.
But yeah, I personally, I have to listen to it multiple times to unpack,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
again, it's such a great track.
Such a great track, of course, but I for sure know that I'm gonna listen it multiple times. I already have it in my playlist. Um, I love Babna Karim's voice. We talk about Bangladeshi singers every now and then. I think it kind of becomes repetitive, but um, his voice had that depth with the lower notes that I can definitely resonate with, and
Yeah.
it's just beautifully done in this particular track as well.
Last thing I want to mention is the set design. It is worthy of mentioning.
Hmm.
The Cox's Bazar story that this was conceptualized,
Yeah. Yeah.
there while sitting, and he was in BTEC, and his friend brought a guitar, and they thought
Yeah.
they conceptualized a track that
Yeah.
it dwelled on him.
Yeah.
That setting of Cox's Bazar with everything with stars and sand, even on the
Mm.
stage, was
Mhm.
was
The
very
opening
nicely
shot.
done.
The
Very
opening
nicely
shot.
done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And throughout
Throughout the track, yeah. Throughout the track, of course, and they set the stage with that opening shot where you
Absolutely.
see the Cox's Bazar's beach, just the depiction of it, but it brings back that nostalgia, the element of nostalgia that this track originally had. Yeah, I think um, I would just say that um, this track has a really special place for me personally as well. Although we both don't understand the language that much, but we unpacked it through the context that was given for this track before we did the earlier version that we did. But here, what I would like to appreciate once again is the subtitles of this particular track, which has made me appreciate the lyrics even more, which I wasn't able to fully grasp the last time when we listened to the original version.
I must say that by now, when we hear this track, there's a lot of lyrics that we just know.
Yeah.
As in language. So guitar hate and all that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It is comprehensible to
Yeah.
us, to me
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
So when you hear something very very new, you might not comprehend because of the language barrier, but language is it's not too different. Here you have heard it so many times that the language becomes comprehensible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's wrap it up over here. I'm pretty sure that the Bangladeshi fans who have listened to this particular track and they still follow Warfaze with the current lineup that they have, they were all the artists who featured in this particular track are part of the current lineup. Babna Kareem isn't the part of the current lineup, but he was introduced in this track because he was the original lyricist and also the vocalist of this track. I'm pretty sure that I think this track is gonna explode. It is gonna rave a lot of views in this particular season, and I think it deserves because it's a tribute to one of the timeless classics. It's the impact, the immeasurable impact, as Haris you mentioned. It was one of those building blocks of the society, right? Which really is something genuine. So I think, yeah, let us know your thoughts around this particular track as well. It's pretty late over here, but we also thought to record this particular video for all of you. So thank you so much once again for listening to us, and we'll catch up on the next one. Until then, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.